Guys, I finally freaking did it. Look, I finally got to Ultra Ball tier after 87 battles. Oh my goodness. Now, the reason why we're in Ultra Ball tier right now is because I completely screwed myself over. Okay? So, as we know, the Weezing has Heat Wave and Terra Fire, but I completely shafted the Kyogre because I played so horrible with the Weezing, Ability Shield, and the Neutralizing Gas. I ain't gonna lie, this team is kind of hard to play, but after playing it for a while, you will get the hang of it. You will understand what your Pokemon will do. You will understand pretty much everything that needs to go on with this team. Okay, so basically, Weezing, Regigigas, pretty much standard. Now, if somebody opens up and does not respect the Regigigas or the Weezing, then they are gonna get themselves mauled over. Okay, same with Groudon, Weezing, and the crazy thing about this team is that before I got rid of Terra Ground on Urshifu, I did not have Groudon. But obviously, being 4 times weak to any fairy type hits, I changed it to Terra Steel, which ended up winning the game before I got to Ultra Ball tier. So that's pretty important. Now, Choice Band, Sucker Punch, insane damage because obviously you know that they're just going to hit you. So you're just going to Sucker Punch. Just Sucker Punch spam, even if they go for Protect. Now, the crazy thing about this... Oh, God, I dropped my controller. Alright. Now, the crazy thing about this is the fact that Unseen Fist does not make or break the Urshifu on the Weezing, which is kind of crazy because even if the opponent protects, Urshifu can just still do the damage that it needs to you because it's just adamant max attack. Literally, pretty much the Regigigas, the Urshifu, and Groudon are all max attack adamant nature. And then the Calyrex is speed nature, but it's still max special attack, max speed. The only two, well, technically, the only one that doesn't have special attack or attack EVs is this Indeedee. Now, Calyrex, it's max special attack, max speed. The Weezing, it's max hit points, max special attack, and then 12 in the special defense. So that way it could try to live some special hits. But I'm going to do my hopefully final breakdown for this team. Okay, now I know I have Psychic on this Indeedee, but I'm probably going to change it to Expanding Force right after this video gets done. But anyways, we have the Groudon. This is from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, as you can see in the right hand corner underneath the level. That comes from Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire. But I have Bulk Up, Protect, Precipice Blades, Heat Crash, and I've changed this team so many times. I completely forgot that Kyogre had Surf and Weezing. I got rid of Protect on Weezing. So I was still using Surf and not doing as much damage as I could have done on this Kyogre set. But it's basically like the Groudon. Calm Mind, Origin Pulse, Ice Beam, Protect. Now, this Groudon set is kind of insane actually. And the reason why it's insane is because I was trying to damage theory pretty much if I could live on Kyogre or if I needed to lower my attack. But thankfully, this Groudon can live some hits, okay? So I have 240 in the hit points. That's 205 hit points. Max attack adamant, which is 222 in the damage. Now we have 16 special defense. We have no speed, and that's simply for the fact if we need Trick Room, okay? Now this entire team is supposed to work in Trick Room after you. So that's a very key important part of this team. All right. Now this Indeedee is probably one of the craziest things that I have ever came up with. So I am not a big fan of Trick Room, okay? I can tell you that now. I like being speedy. I like fast. So after trying to learn Trick Room mechanics and everything and not Tailwind mechanics, it's kind of insane. So basically what we can do is we set up the Psychic Surge. And technically we really don't need the Psychic Surge for the Calyrex. But Expanding Force can hit single target or double target depending on if you have Psychic Terrain up. But if we get this Psychic Terrain up, then we can Trick Room, we can After You, we can Psychic. But I am definitely going to change it to Expanding Force because that should do a little bit more damage if I'm doing this correctly. So the description for Expanding Force says, user on Psychic Terrain, 1.5 times power, hits foes. So I think that does technically do a little bit more damage than the Psychic. I mean, this is 90, this is 80, but 1.5 times power. I mean, come on now. With no special attack investment, come on now. Now, like I said, this Indeedee does lift a lot of things, okay? I ain't gonna lie. This thing is slept on in Trick Room. This thing, most people, all they do is run max speed, max special attack, and timid nature, Choice Scarf, and then all they do is Expanding Force. No. Of course I had to do something different, right? I had to reverse the Trick Room, make sure I am the slowest on the field. And even if we get knocked off, we won't die from an Incineroar, okay? This thing is so tanky that we don't even die from an Incineroar if we don't Terra Dragon. So if you guys want some tech, I suggest you use this Indeedee mail set. I love it so much. It's kind of something crazy that I came up with. Okay, so now this Weezing, it does exceptionally more damage than what I had on there. So I had Citrus Berry on there. But if Calyrex Shadow Rider and Calyrex Ice Rider is coming in, then they're going to get rid of my berry. Yes, I lived a lot of hits. But we are not killing things that easily. I mean, if we paired it up with a Reggie, yes, we are taking foes left and right with that Reggie. Okay? So all I did was I just put the specs on there. I changed the Protect to Dark Pulse so that way we can try to KO any Calyrex. And if we are pairing it up with the Regigigas or another Calyrex, then we have Knockoff and we have Dark Pulse. And you're probably wondering why I have so much Dark on my team. Well, one, Choice Banded Urshifu takes out the Calyrex. This Weezing one-hit KOs the Calyrex. Regigigas, even if it's in slow mode, will one-hit KO a Calyrex, which is kind of crazy. And I like making this team as viable as possible, okay? Now, obviously, we have Terrifier, so that way we can do big heat wave damage. And what I was doing when I like played super horribly is that they had like a Rillaboom and I think a Zamazenta or something like that, which I could have easily heat waved and Terra'd so that way the wheezing doesn't go down. But I set up the rain, which lowered my damage to my wheezing. So that was kind of bad on my part. Okay, that was bad on my part. So I'm going to show you what this wheezing set is. I know I've covered it in like the last 2-3 videos that I made on this team, but I want to show you the progressiveness of this team and like the whole reason why we are running this the way we are now. So we have 244 hit points. Yes, base 65 is not a lot, but we have high defense. And what do we do with high defense? We make our super effectives not very effective. What is super common in the meta right now? Zacian and Zamazenta. You know what they get? They get Behemoth Bash. That will, and I say this not even lightly, that will wreck our crap. That will mess up our day as hard as possible. But basically, this wheezing can literally one-shot everything now. It literally can one-shot now. Especially in the sun. Now, before I got to Ultra Ball tier, I was on my last game to get Ultra Ball tier. There was a Smeargle that was just sporing me, and it was sporing me for one. So wheezing went to sleep. I had Regigigas paired up next to it, so I took out Shadow Rider Calyrex on the Regigigas because I knocked it off, and then wheezing went to sleep. But fun fact, if you don't get to choose your move, if you get to sleep, you can choose a different move. So that was like a core mechanic that I didn't even know about. So now you know. So I clicked Dark Pulse so I could try to take out the Calyrex, assuming that it was Focus Sash Calyrex. So I just one-shotted it on the Reggie. I didn't get to use Dark Pulse on it, but when the wheezing woke up, I was able to swap from Dark Pulse to Heat Wave. And what ended up happening was the turn that I woke up on the wheezing, I Terra-Fired, I Heat Waved, I swapped Regigigas out to Groudon. Okay, so the Smeargle spored the Groudon, and I want to say that the Zacian used Behemoth Bash that turn on me so it could try to take out the wheezing, but obviously it didn't take me out, and I almost KO'd the Smeargle and the Zamazenta together in the sun, Terra-Fire, Heat Wave, okay? But I didn't. Eventually, Groudon woke up, hit the Precipice Blades, which, if you don't know, it has an 85 base accuracy, just like Origin Pulse. So, I still had the Wheezing, the Reggie, the Groudon, and I still had the Urshifu. So, he had Thunderclapper in the back, and my Groudon lived 3 body presses, and it was still alive. It had like 14 health, something like that. It was in the red, but he was not able to Thunderclap my Groudon because obviously it's a ground type. Now, if I Terra-Fired the Groudon, then obviously he could Thunderclap the Groudon, and then I don't think we would be sitting pretty. But what I could have done is I could have swapped out the Wheezing and then reset my choice specs, and then I could use Strange Stream. I don't think he Terra'd, so that is also a big part of how I got the Ultra Ball tier. Okay, so now on to the Urshifu. So this is just your standard Urshifu set. just max speed, max attack, adamant nature. Now, I do have to boost up those close combats and those sucker punches. I was kind of too lazy to do that, and I kind of didn't figure that I would need to. But I'm going to do that after I get off this video. So, adamant, max attack, max speed, so that way in Trick Room we can always after you. Now, there was a set that I seen on YouTube that it was like 240 to like 220 hit points, max attack, and then like the rest in special defense. But its special defense is so low that I was like, no, this is never going to work out for what I need it to. So on this Urshifu set, I was looking at Calyrex. So basically, Steel Terra for that Iron Head. Because if you know anything about the Urshifu, you know that this will get stab damage, always crits. Sucker Punch never fails unless they... Well, it usually goes first, and then it fails if the target is not attacking. That's what I was trying to say. But since Sucker Punch and Wicked Blow are stab on the Urshifu, then I don't need it. And then Close Combat is also stab, so I don't need to use a Terra for that. So I did have something crazy before I put the Groudon on. I was using Terra Ground, and I also had Terra Blast because it can one-shot a Miraidon. And if people don't understand that, the difference of right here, so basically right here, where is basically how you can tell the difference. So if the little ribbon hair tie thingies are sticking up, then it's dark type. If they're going down, then it's water fighting. But I changed this to Iron Head, and then I also changed it to Terra Steel. So Sucker Punch, so Iron Head, and then Sucker, obviously. So basically this Pokemon does absurd amount of damage. It does so much damage. Okay. And then let's see. But basically this is just your standard Urshifu set. Now, a lot of people don't understand how broken Terra Steel with the Iron Head is. Now, there was a set that I seen that had Poison Jab, and it was Terra Poison, obviously. So basically, they can do the same thing. Poison Jab, and then Terra Poison basically does the same thing, and they have the same weaknesses. Let's see. I just think Iron Head, if you're faster, you can get that flinch, because obviously that's what I'm thinking. Now, there also another reason why I don't go Poison Jab on this is because I already have a poison type on this team that can already poison. So that's another way to look at it. All right, now we got the big horse. So basically, this is probably my favorite set, other than the one that I use for the Jolteon team, which is like tanky-ish, but also will mess you up. And the fact that Jolteon can copycat the Astral Barrage, so valuable. So very valuable. And Jolteon can also copycat the Draining Kiss in case I need to get back health, which is also a good thing. Now, people underestimate the disable on a Calyrex. So basically, if you know that you are going to go down, on the Calyrex, you can pretty much disable their move. As long as it's not wide guard or anything that has a more priority. So wide guard is priority, and I learned so much stuff during the last two battles before I got to Ultra Ball tier. Yeah, so this is just your standard Calyrex set. Max special attack, max speed. Okay, Terra Ghost, so that way you can do as much damage as you want to on the Astral. And then the reason why we don't go Terra Psychic for that expanding force is because, for one, if Indeedee gets that Psychic Terrain up, then we're already doing 1.5 times in boosted damage. Now, I was also thinking of potentially, depending on going with Pollen Puff to heal our allies, just in case. But so far this set's working, so we'll just keep the expanding force on there. And I think we only have one more Pokemon left. Ah, yes, the Regigigas. So this Pokemon is insane. And then if Weezing goes down, it's a little less insane until it gets its slow start up. So I kind of have to get ways around the slow start. So basically protect, wide guard if need be, take a little bit of hits. Basically that's pretty much what we're doing. Take a little bit of hits, do a little bit of knockoff damage. Don't use Crush Grip until your slow start gets unactivated. So basically this is also your standard set. So Terra Ghost, so that way you can get rid of your weakness on the fighting type, especially if there are other Urshifus. Because if there are other Urshifus, I can guarantee you they can try to hit you with a close combat. There was one battle that I had where I used Terra Ghost immediately, and for whatever reason, they called it. They literally called me going Terra Ghost, and they Surging Strikes. Now, thankfully, I didn't go down on the Regigigas. For whatever reason, this team is really hard to KO. For some reason, it's really hard to take out these Pokemon, which is why I like it. So we do Life Orb, so that way we can potentially just one-shot everything. We quite literally just one-shot everything. And then Crush Grip, now that's based on the Pokemon's hit points. So if you're next to Weezing, it will almost guarantee that Pokemon can live at like 1 HP, which is fine because you got ways around everything pretty much in this team. You get around everything. Now, Wide Guard Protect. Now, in case you guys don't know, there is a little thing where Protect cannot be spammed. Wide Guard can be spammed. But if you use Wide Guard first and then Protect will fail. For whatever reason, that's what the Pokemon Company intended that this Pokemon does. Just Wide Guard Protect will fail. So you have to either A, spam Wide Guard, or use Knockoff and then use Protect, or Protect, Wide Guard, then Knockoff, and then go back to Protect or Wide Guard. So that is my team, and I hope the only thing that I have to change is the expanding force on Indeedee. And I hope I can get to Master Ball tier. But I am excited that I got to Ultra Ball tier. I was so happy when I got it. Now, if you remember the first part of this team, oh, where is he? I had used this Koraidon. Now, basically, it's supposed to do the same thing as the Groudon, but it just didn't pan out that way, and it did not work Because simply for the fact, in doubles, you basically need a lot of AoE moves. Like Precipice Blades, Expanding Force, Heat Wave, Astral Barrage. Now, there are some Pokemon where you need to use single target moves. Like Crush Grip, Knockoff, Expanding Force without the Psychic Terrain, Sucker Punch, Iron Head, Close Combat, Wicked Blow, Sludge Bomb, Dark Pulse, Drain Stream, Psychic, Heat Crash. But this Pokemon let me down, not gonna lie. It did let me down. But I will say that the Groudon is definitely gonna be working. But with that being said, like, comment, subscribe, share the video with a friend, link in the description down below for all my socials. It's your boy BellyDrum. Peace.